shelter for the poor. We'll learn how Nigeria addresses the housing deficit and see Niger State leading the way in a national housing project.
Concerns mount in Egypt as Ethiopia's Renaissance Dam nears completion. Will downstream neighbors suffer harm to agriculture and industry?
Returning colonial-era artifacts to Africa. France and Benin make the first steps towards repatriating artifacts from Africa. Africa54 starts right now.
Hello and thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Joke Rogers at Channels Television here in Lagos, and I'm joined by Vincent Makori at the Voice of America in Washington.
Yes, thanks a lot, Joke. I'm Vincent Makori at our global headquarters in Washington, D.C. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with a look at housing Nigeria's low-income earners. Joke Rogers in Lagos brings you that story.
That's right. Shelter remains one of man's immediate needs after food and water. Here in Nigeria, addressing the country's housing deficit is a priority for the federal government. Already a housing project targeted at low-income earners across all 36 states is under construction. The first phase of the project in Niger State is almost complete. Channels Television's correspondent, Emperor Simon, compiled this report.
Over 180 million people live in Nigeria, and about half of the population are low-income earners, many of whom are said to lack decent shelter. But finding solutions to the country's housing deficit of 17 million units remains a huge challenge. Having identified the problem, the government is working towards providing at least 700,000 housing units every year. It also reviewed upwards the housing budget from 30 billion in 2016 to 40 billion naira in 2017, and the 36 states of the Federation are expected to benefit. Construction work has begun, and in Niger State, the first phase of the project is almost 70% complete. On a visit to the site, officials of the ministry were pleased to find that many housing units will soon be ready for allocation to residents.
This project was envisioned by the federal government and is being implemented by Federal Ministry of Works and Housing as an arm of the federal government in collaboration with the state to provide accessible, affordable and decent housing for Nigerians. We have 40 blocks here and 80 units, so it can't be anything more than that. But the project is ongoing. This is phase one. We need to sustain the project so that every Nigerian that needed anything, any housing, affordable housing, will be able to get one.
The quality has been very good, is of standard, and is of high quality of construction, from what you can see, from what even other members of this inspection team have testified to. The quality has been very, very good.
The project is already impacting communities as more local laborers are being employed and materials are being sourced locally.
Apart from agriculture, this is the highest, second to agriculture, that creates employment. Anywhere there are housing projects, you see people will be engaged, from the professionals, the contractors, the food vendors, the manual laborers, and everybody is engaged. So this is like, it has impact on people's life. And you can see in the community, you see youths that are not engaged doing anything. You see them, they are engaged, they are doing supplies, labor work and other things. And that's will reduce crime rates in the society.
Despite the federal government's goal of meeting housing needs, the Niger State government had already begun projects in this direction. It says both projects are complementary.
It is the policy of this administration to collaborate with the federal government and other development organizations in trying to provide basic services such as the housing. Housing, we all know, the all over that is very critical in terms of the population that we have. So I think what the government has done is to support what the federal government is doing in trying to provide housing.
At least 40 blocks of 80 flats are to be constructed in every state. The key word is sustainability. If all goes according to plan, housing may no longer be a major challenge in Nigeria.